I was here. Oh, yes. And if you
Okay, hello everyone. We'll give it another second or two to get started. All right, well, this is being recorded, so we will go ahead and get started, and anyone who jumps on later can reference the recording. Welcome to the Moments That Made Us webinar. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. All right, there we go. So far, so good. Welcome to the Moments That Made Us webinar. We're so excited to present this project to people from all over the Western and the entire United States. We have several folks who registered from the east side of the country as well. This project is designed to be accessible to any and all folks, so we're happy to have everyone. I'm just going to start us off with some introductions to the four folks who will be doing the most speaking today. So I'm Jay Bereston. I'm the Director of Heritage Outreach with the Washington State Historical Society. And I would like each of our four panelists to give a brief background of your role and then your involvement in 250 in your state. So I am, as I mentioned, the Director of Heritage Outreach, and that is the department that supports field services across the state of Washington, basically providing support, training, grants to small heritage organizations across the state. So that is our purpose. And then 250 landed in our department. So I am actually running 250 for the state and the staff for the Washington State Commission or committee, technically. And then I will pass it over to Gwen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen Lockman. I'm at History Colorado, where I am the senior exhibition developer and historian. So I lead our team of planners and storytellers who help shepherd our exhibitions from concept to opening and having visitors come to the museum. And I am the exhibition developer and historian working on the source exhibit for Moments That Made Us that is opening at the History Colorado Center in downtown Denver next week. And so my relationship to this project has been relaying the source exhibit that has happened at our Central State History Museum and how we can adapt that to an accessible print-on-demand version to bring to more communities through the commemorations next year.
Great. Hannah Laurie?
Thanks so much, Jay. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. My name is Hannah Laurie Hine, and I am the state historian with the Idaho State Historical Society. I am one of the subject matter experts here at our agency, and I also serve on our leadership team. And as part of my job responsibilities right now, I am also serving as the vice chair of the America 250 in Idaho Task Force, which is a coalition of state agencies that is shepherding America 250 here in the Gem State.
Nicole.
I guess I'm up. My name's Nicole Harvey. I am the director of the Oklahoma History Center Museum here in Oklahoma City, which is part of the Oklahoma Historical Society, which is the state agency for history in the state of Oklahoma. And our involvement with our America 250 Commission, we have a seat with the commission, but I am not directly necessarily involved with it. I've just been really excited to see what the Historical Society could do to commemorate America 250, and was lucky enough to meet this group of fantabulous folks and jumped into the meetings and got involved with this project early on, and I'm just really excited to see it keep moving forward.
Great, thanks. So I'll be moderating today's discussion, I'm sharing screen and we'll kind of throw it to each of our panelists to discuss some of the material we want to present today. So first of all, what is this project? Moments That Made Us is a multi-state collaboration, and the ultimate product is going to be a free, customizable print-on-demand exhibition that is a kit of downloadable files. And the content is designed around reflecting on the Declaration of Independence through specific moments in American history that have helped shape their meaning in our culture. We have been really excited about this collaborative approach amongst this group of Western states. And today we're going to present about kind of some of the problems that this exhibition project has been designed to address, how it was kind of conceived, and the circumstances that are making it possible, some high-level information about the content, and some layout ideas, which were in the user's guide that I emailed out yesterday. So hopefully you've all been able to kind of get a little preview of that. And then why we see this as a really valuable model for future cross-state collaboration, or even, kind of within a state potentially as well, but just kind of a resource sharing style project. First, I want to call your attention to all of our statewide partners that we are really pleased to have as sort of distribution partners in this project. The idea behind having these statewide partners is for each state who signs up to basically have a point person, point of contact for people in their state that their state can go to for questions. We'd love it if you can host the files on your website, although that's not totally required. You can link out to other websites that will be hosting the files. But basically just help us promote it within your state. And these are all of the state organizations that have signed up to say, hey, we think this is a cool project, we'll help promote it in our state. So I wanted to say thank you to all of these folks. And if you're here from a state that you don't see represented, please reach out. We would love to have more folks listed. Again, you don't have to produce any content or sort of make any commitments about exhibiting the material. It's literally just a commitment to help promote the project within your state to your state audience. So with that, I will move on to kind of the problems that this exhibition was designed to address. So the first one is, what does America 250 look like in the West? And I'm going to turn it over to Hannah Laurie to chat about that.
Thanks so much, Jay. I know here in Idaho, we are not unique in the challenge of not having Revolutionary War battlefields or, being the birthplace of any of our founding fathers or mothers. And so as Idaho was beginning to think about what does this commemoration really look like and how do we make it meaningful for our constituents, a lot of the conversation centered around the fact that the West, more than really any other region, was the place that really made America, right? This is the area of the country that so many of those original founding ideals manifested, whether you're looking at the Homestead Act or any of the railroad land grants, or any of those kind of historical moments that really had a tie directly back to 1776 and the themes that came out of the Declaration of Independence. And so I don't think that, Idaho is unique in trying to advance our state's history alongside an exploration of the ideals from the American Revolution. And I think that's a lot of the conversations, all of the panelists are having, in addition to state planners here within Idaho. And I'd be interested to hear what others think about that. But that's really what we were kind of leaning into.
Absolutely. And that leads us right into the second bullet of how to tell national stories that matter to local communities. And I will toss it over to Nicole to chat a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that we were cognizant of or were thinking about when we were developing this is that this is both a national story, but also it can be a deeply local story. And this idea of, you know, local communities, even statewide communities, developing, touching that 250 and kind of going, this is a really big story. This is a national story. How do I interpret that? How do I move forward with that when most of our resources, our knowledge base is based in our local community? And I think that this exhibit, as you'll see when we get further into the presentation, this really blends those two in a really, really good way, in the sense that the source exhibit, the main part of the exhibit, is going to really touch on those national moments. And then there's going to be this ability to build upon those national moments to a more local level, so that you're able to address both of those things, do what you do really well. If you're not a museum that touches on national stories, you focus on your local stories. How do we connect those with the national narrative? But if you want to, and if you don't, and you want to do a national story, this is already built in for you. And then you can just look at programming and things that maybe, work within your local community.
Great, thanks, Nicole. And this next problem that we recognized was the limitations of traveling exhibits. And I'll turn over to Gwen to chat a little bit about that.
Thanks, Jay. As I'm sure many of you have experienced or thought about trying, traveling exhibits are sometimes really daunting, and there are a number of limitations that come from finances or space or timing. And that's especially true when it comes to something like America 250. What do you do when everybody needs something at the same time? And there's only so many things that are in good shape to travel, or that you can really see working for your space. Since traveling exhibits are so often typically one size fits all, we wanted to work together to come up with an idea that allows for sort of our standard set that might be small and usable, but something that can be expanded or contracted based on what your community's needs are. We also wanted to make something that is essentially open access for you and your communities, that there's not a pay barrier to get to participate in this important national anniversary and once in a generation engagement point for history and civics. And like I said, where so many traveling exhibits, it might exist in one, or if you're lucky, two copies that can travel around the country or the world. With a print-on-demand exhibition, there's really no limit. And this increases the possibility of reaching more audiences, engaging more communities, and serving more institutions like the many of you represent.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gwen. And the next bullet I wanted to chat about, and that is how can field services staff, or as I mentioned, kind of the staff at different historical societies that is designed, or that has the role to support historical societies across the state, what tangible products and tools could we potentially provide to support our small institutions? And that led out of that conversation of the limitations of traveling exhibits, and the total adaptability of something that's fully digital, adaptable, customizable, modular. The next issue is sharing resources, and it kind of goes along with the last bullet of time is ticking. I think, Hannah-Lori, I checked our counter and we're at 231 days. This project really was born out of conversations among Western states that the idea of an exhibit, kind of a shared exhibit, kept coming up, and we just sat down and thought, well, could we do this all together? And so we decided that we would. So moving us along, I wanted to touch on some of the key features that are making this even possible. And as I mentioned, this was born out of conversations among Western states, and then we kind of convened a smaller group to talk about this project specifically. Us 4/5 were key partners in that, and that subgroup really started talking about what the kind of nuts and bolts of this would be. So the one of the biggest key features that is making this exhibition possible is having what we kind of call the base exhibition, the Moments That Made Us exhibition, that is opening next week at History Colorado in Denver. Our partners in Colorado have very generously allowed us to basically adapt their existing material into this panel exhibit. So I want to just give Gwen a minute to briefly chat about that exhibit and kind of that transition from that very large exhibit to this smaller one.
Thanks, Jay. I do also want to introduce the man of mystery here with me, Mr. Jason Hansen, Chief Creative Officer and America 250, Colorado 150 Commissioner, recently called effervescent in the New Yorker. We're very lucky to have him take on so much leadership. Do you want to mention anything about being the genesis for making this group happen before I get into the source?
No, I think you guys are doing a great job. Yeah.
Well, nonetheless, please jump in if I forget anything, Jason. As I mentioned when I introduced myself, my name is Gwen, and I've worked on the base exhibition, as we've called it. So basically, Colorado knew we were all in for this commemoration. Not only is it America's 250, but it is Colorado's 150. We are the centennial state, became a state in 1876. And so we have the pleasure of getting to double up on anniversaries with the nation. And with that opportunity, we knew we wanted to dedicate our largest rotating exhibition space at the History Colorado Center in Denver to the America 250 commemorations. Working together very closely with Jason, we knew we wanted to look at watershed moments in American history, turning points, if you will. And we here at History Colorado have opted to go with 50 events that we're looking at. We know they don't cover everything, but they are the greatest hits, for better or for worse, the moments where we have grown, where we have turned our trajectory, where the nation has changed or reflected change. And those are the moments that made us. That's our exhibition opening next week through this group, and me sort of relaying what the updates are for our exhibition here at History Colorado, and Jason's leadership along with Jay, Hannah Laurie, Nicole, Laura, and our other partners who you saw on the statewide partners list. We took those 50 moments Colorado is looking at, and we selected 15 of those, along with thinking about what's another way we could connect this and make this adaptation of a large gallery make sense on a print-on-demand scale. And so we did look to the Declaration of Independence, the source of this anniversary, and adapted those 15 moments to look at themes drawn from the Declaration. So I think this is where I hand it back to Jay now to reflect on that process and share with you.
Yes, thanks, Gwen. That's absolutely right. We knew that with a print-on-demand version, we'd have to cut it way down. And it was a really kind of wonderful collegial experience, actually, to go through that process with this small group. And as Hannah Laurie has said, we really had to kind of check our egos at the door and just sort of work together to, first of all, determine those 5 themes, which we'll share shortly, but then take all of the excellent work that History Colorado has done and only select 3 per theme, which was difficult. And the other thing we kept coming back to was we're designing it to be completely adaptable, customizable. If there's a user out there who's just like, you missed something huge, you can add it. So that gave us a little bit of breathing room to say, we're going to pick the things that we think are representative of these themes and will help connect local histories to national history. And that gave us a little bit of breathing room to say, the whole thing is designed to be customizable. If someone's not happy with our selections, they can update their version. Which kind of leads us to the next point, which is that this is designed to be totally modular, and we'll show you some graphics in a moment. But I will turn it over to Hannah Laurie to kind of talk about the modularity.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I think you all, of course, have different sites, and those sites have different spatial needs, and you might have open wall space or you might not. And so we wanted to be as intentional as possible about making this accessible. And so the way that we envisioned that was that the design is completely modular. So that means that you can put up 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, or all 26 of these panels. And skipping some of them is not going to mean you're missing out on any of the story. They're completely standalone pieces. And that discussion, that decision that we made came from a lot of kind of customer discovery with folks at the local level across all of our organizations and all of our states, to hear that, space is an issue, cost is an issue. But because of this modularity, what I'm most excited about is that it also gives every site a chance to draw in repeat visitors by shifting out some of this content over the course of the year. So you're investing in one product, right? This Moments That Made Us exhibition, but that could look like 3 or 4 different versions of the story over the course of 2026.
Yep, which we'll show you some examples of what that might look like shortly. And then I a little bit stole your thunder, Nicole, but about being customizable for state and local content. So I'll just go ahead and briefly say that there's a couple of statewide partners that are planning to produce additional panels for regional history. Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, for instance, are working on some additional content that we'll make available to everybody. But beyond that, if there are any local users that want to add their own stories, display their own artifacts, we are designing the implementation guide to kind of help assist you with that. And in the user guide, you saw some prompts and some questions to start considering for the content that will be in the core exhibit panels, try to help conceive of how you might want to adapt it if you want. As Hannah Laurie said, you don't have to. It's all designed to be used as it is, ready to go if that is what fits your organization. So the last point I want to make before we move forward is that we used sort of broad themes from the Declaration of Independence in order to be accessible to as wide an audience as possible. We're envisioning and hoping that this project will be displayed at a wide variety of locations, not just museums, and that's probably our main audience as museum people ourselves, but also archives, libraries, schools, cultural centers, municipal buildings. Our artistic coordinator is asking all of our county fairs to display panels at the fair. So we're hopeful that by selecting these kind of large historical events and broad themes, that it can be really appealing to any and all audiences. And we're really excited to offer an easy to use, high quality product to anyone who wants to download. So I'm going to move us along because I do want to save time for questions. But generally speaking, the key project features are the collaboratively curated themes and moments, 26 digital files that are ready to use for anyone who would like to, high resolution of significant artifacts. Another thank you to History Colorado, who has been curating objects from across the nation for their exhibit and will be photographing, doing very high quality photographs of those objects so that we can reproduce those images in this exhibition for the 15 moments that we selected. We have the user guide that was just released, but we'll also be including a more detailed implementation guide with the files as in January when the project is released. And then we are going to have Spanish language translations of the core kit of panels as well. And before we move on, I just wanted to mention kind of some of the distribution of labor that has gone into this project. So obviously Colorado, huge lift with their core exhibition. And Gwen, you've sort of described it as like writing 2 exhibitions at once. So if you would speak to that a bit.
Yes, a bit. So while we were working on our exhibition here at History Colorado, Jason, myself, and a number of our other colleagues, to bring together a story of these 50 moments, we were also at the same time thinking very much about the adaptation to the Declaration themes, and I think both made each other better, which is of course the best part of collaboration, of not only getting to share, but also getting to improve what you're working on. And we had the opportunity to phone in our favors for our network of everybody working on this exhibition. So we were very excited to last night welcome a fellow museum professional and conservator from Mount Vernon, George Washington's Mount Vernon. Thanks to this project, it's been a really wonderful opportunity for us, knowing that we had the time and resources to prepare for something like this, to collaborate as much as possible, not only nationally on what we would be doing here in Denver, but also with our statewide partners on this print-on-demand Moments That Made Us exhibit. Building the plane as we flew, but we've been having a good ride.
Building.
I think
Still building. And I also want to mention, I mentioned earlier that Oregon, Idaho, and Washington are working on some additional content. We're excited to release along with the core exhibit. Oklahoma, Nicole has been awesome with helping edit text and kind of messaging. We had some feedback from Hawaii. Arizona has been awesome in kind of helping us guide. Kansas reached out to their museum association, reached out to a bunch of small organizations to help guide some of the decisions we've been making. So we really have had a lot of involvement and input, and are trying to create a product that sort of addresses as many needs as possible across a very wide range of potential users. You can see on this slide, we've got sort of a sample design, and Gwen and Jason mentioned their exhibit is opening next week, and right after that, they're going to be setting their designers to adapt the design. This is a draft, so things may change, but this is kind of an example of the theme panels. We've got an example of a specific moment panel, and then some custom panels as well here, just giving you a sense of what that branding might look like.
Jay, if you actually want to back up just for a second to that last slide, I think there's a point that we maybe haven't mentioned about this yet, and that is the content within that Moments panel. You can see here very clearly on the screen that we are intentional about providing multiple perspectives on each of these moments. And that, was an idea, again, that we discussed as a group, and that our mystery man, Jason Hansen, kind of led with. And I think that maybe more than anything about this entire project is really going to ensure broad application of the content, because we are being intentional about telling these singular moments from the perspective of various stakeholders.
Great point. Thank you, Hannah-Laurie. And with that, I do want to get into some of the, this is all kind of information that we did cover with our comments, but I wanted to sort of orient folks around the actual files themselves. So this is our plan for the exhibition files. We'll have an opening panel, which is this one at the top here, which will sort of introduce the exhibition, introduce it as a multi-state collaborative project. And then each of the, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, each of the themes will have their own introductory panel, which is these five on the next level, the second level there. And so that will address these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, consent of the governed, kind of from a very broad historical lens. And then under each theme, we have selected 3 moments. You can see with 5 themes and 3 moments per theme, we've got that 15 that we selected from Colorado's base exhibition. And then under each theme, this is a little bit still TBD, we want to have some method for audience reflection. We don't know exactly the format these will take exactly, but we want to have we want to provide a suggested way that folks can interact with their audience, whether that's a question with like the opportunity to put Post-its up or something like that. We'd love for the audience to be able to interact with the exhibition. And the next couple of slides have a lot of text. Please don't get too nervous. I would refer you to the user's guide. But I did want to sort of show you briefly the themes and the selected moments that are in the exhibit, will be in the exhibition. I want to mention that we have basically one of our priorities was to have at least sort of one Revolutionary era item per theme. So you'll see kind of in each of them, we've got some pretty early events. And then we purposefully were looking at things into the 21st century, wanted to not just, we wanted to focus on kind of all 250 years of US history. And so we tried to incorporate a wide variety of moments and dates. Which, as I mentioned before, if you feel like we missed something, you can add it. And conversely, if you feel like some of the topics in here will not resonate with your community, or you don't like the way that we've presented it, or you don't think we took the right perspectives on any particular moment or topic, you can leave that panel off. And as Hannah Laurie mentioned earlier, because we're designing each panel to stand on its own and be completely modular, you can mix and match as much as you want, and it's going to be designed to all make sense within one panel and just be grouped together for a full experience. So what if we don't have space to display everything? Well, we intentionally have designed this, as I mentioned, to be adaptable. So one potential is to display the intro panel and select 2 of the themes or 3 of the themes that you think will resonate most with your community, or that you feel like you have the ability to, maybe tell some local stories around. Pick themes and several moments under each of those, maybe one reflection panel, if you like the way those end up being formatted. And then you've got an 8 to 10, maybe 11 or 12, depending on how many moments you select, exhibition that can maybe fit in a smaller space than the entire exhibition. Another option would be to select all the themes. So you have all 5 intro theme panels, and then you just select one moment under each of those for kind of a much a broader exhibition that covers all 5 themes, but fewer individual historical moments, and then 1 or 2 reflection panels, depending on your preferences for your exhibition and your space. And another potential option, as Hannah Laurie mentioned, you could rotate the material throughout the year. This is such a great idea. And you can, I have it as sort of first half, second half here, but you could potentially split it into 3, 4, or 5 chunks of, I don't know if you want to be changing your exhibition space out 5 times in one year, but you could use each modular piece in your space, and you define what that is. So maybe you have 2 or 3 themes for the first half of the year, the other for the second half of the year, and maybe there's some local interpretation that goes along with that. So lots of options. It's designed to be completely customizable. Anyone want to jump in on those graphics before we move on?
I just want to applaud Jay on some of the design for this whole deck and the way that we're, again, trying to provide the information both visually and through the written text. What I'm hearing, at least from my constituents here in Idaho, is the fact that we can plug and play over time and across space is something that seems very intriguing to folks. And, thinking about partners who may be able to help support your exhibition, again, maybe one organization in your city hosts the first 3 themes and the second organization hosts something, hosts the second set of themes. And you provide some opportunities for collaborative programming between those organizations. So there's ideas we've thought of, but of course you're going to have your best ideas. So think about this as broadly as you want to. The possibilities are really endless.
Thanks, Hannah Laurie. So we're hard at work on this, and we are still planning to release the digital downloadable materials in January. Again, lots of props to History Colorado for them dedicating their team's time to help produce the design and the layout of these files. So what will be downloadable in January are all 26 ready to print panels. So that's 1 intro, 5 themes, 15 moments, and some reflection panels. And then on top of that, we'll have a variety of file formats for some blank templates for you to add local histories, add another national moment you think we missed. We're going to try to have these available in a few different modes. Probably the exhibit files will be designed in Illustrator if any of you have Adobe, but we have had a lot of success in Washington with Canva. It's an online kind of graphic design, kind of easy to use drag and drop tool that you can get a free account. And so I think we will be pushing that pretty hard on our end as the customizable tool for this, because it's just real easy to use and it's free. So that'll be our focus here. And then, as I mentioned, an implementation guide, which will have recommendations about, printing size. We're thinking of some additional panel groupings that we could suggest, local interpretation ideas, perhaps objects that local historical societies might have in their collection. We don't want to dictate too much. We want you to think about it and think about your community and how the stories you want to tell, but just trying to spark some ideas there. We'll include some ideas for evaluation and reflection for your audience, and then a variety of kind of templates for some marketing materials that you can use. Press release, social media, flyer. Our plan is to kind of try to help make this as easy for you as we can to plug in and use the materials. Any comments about that from our panelists? This is a new slide.
I'll just add that our designers have made the ready to go panels formatted for a 24:36 aspect ratio, and that is something that scales pretty well to 8.5:11 or to 11:17. It won't be, of course, perfect, but just so that you do know that if you have the resources to do a poster board that is a little bit bigger, the 2x3 feet, that will be something you could do. But if it's not, if printer paper is what you've got, copy paper, A4 size, that we are working to make this available to fit that need.
Great point, Gwen, and it's noted in the user guide that I emailed out, but that 24:36 size was purposeful because that's a size that you can easily print at kind of your local do-it-yourself printer, or you can submit it online, submit files like a FedEx Kinko's. Are they still? I forget. Anyway, that you can just get a foam core board printed out or a poster. Those are kind of their default sizes. So the idea was to try to make it as easy to print as possible. Okay, we're going to wrap up with a kind of a few sort of thoughts on the format of this project and why we're excited about it. Hannah-Lori, just briefly, if you wouldn't mind chatting a little bit about the need based on the data that you are looking at for more tools like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I think we've done a really good job so far of really explaining what the product is, right? What is this particular Moments That Made Us exhibition and how this came to fruition? But if we take kind of that 30,000 level foot view and think about this approach to exhibit design as a model that the field really should consider employing moving forward beyond America 250, we're hopeful that this will become part of the legacy of this commemoration. We've got nearly 150 folks on today's call. Perhaps some of you are also working at larger organizations like a state historical society, or a really larger, maybe more well-funded organization. And I would encourage you all to think about how your exhibition team and your curatorial staff can serve as the source exhibit team for something like this moving forward, right? We all know commemoration fatigue is something we might be experiencing, but that's not going to stop commemorations from coming. And so if this is an approach we can practice, perfect, hone over the next several years, I think it's going to have a major impact for our field. And, you know, the data that we did look at, because data is important when making decisions, indicate that a lot more of our organizations are turning to creating exhibitions in-house, and that we're not renting the, you know, big expensive content projects that only a handful of us can host at a time. So if we know that, if we know we're all looking inward to develop exhibitions, then the state boundaries and the regional boundaries need to disappear. And we need to lean in to maximizing the work that we are all doing individually, because we all have unique audiences, and, you know, almost rethinking what competition looks like in this space. So we know for this moment, this commemoration, all 50 states, DC, and our US territories have a need. So the reach for this particular product is in a way immeasurable, but the application of the approach, that's really where I'm excited to see this move forward.
Absolutely. And that also kind of covers our next sort of concluding slide. The potential for future application, in addition to what Hannah Laurie mentioned about commemoration fatigue, less costly, more flexible, a tool for field services staff, and then that really great kind of ability to both tell a national or regional story while adapting local stories to it is the real benefit. Another real benefit that we're excited about for this project. Okay. Next steps, just to sum up kind of where we are on this project, we publicly announced this past July and had a shorter info guide. Yesterday, we released that user's guide that I emailed out to you, and we'll be posting it on all of our websites, our respective websites, all the statewide partners. As I mentioned, the full digital package is planned for January. And then we've got the interest form here. A lot of you probably are already signed up. This QR code goes to the interest form, so you don't need to sign up again. You're on the email list. But if you want to share this with anybody in your area or across your state, please share with them the interest form. We'll be sending everything out to all the emails on that list. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you're from a state who wasn't on that original slide of states, we'd love to talk to you about helping get the word out in your state. And then we are going to, before January, need to come up with some way to try to measure all of this and try our very best to get everyone who uses the exhibition to let us know that they're using it, so that we can see kind of how far and wide it is spreading. So if you're on this call, we hope that you will be engaged, and if you use it, let us know, and hopefully send pictures and let us know how it went, and let us know what content you added, if any, or not. It's totally up to you. So with that, sorry, I pushed us along a little faster than we had planned, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I know we did have we have a Q&A function, and it looks like maybe some of them have been answered, but hopefully everyone in the audience has been able to see those questions be answered and responded to. But we'd like to open it up for questions and discussion with issues you all have, because we are here to provide a resource for you. So I see one here that is open from Nate. What do you recommend communities use as physical backing structure to support the print-on-demand exhibition, especially in public settings, to help prevent vandalism and theft? That's a great question. I don't know if our exhibition folks have specific suggestions on that. With more public settings, I would think you would probably want some type of lamination or something like that. Do folks have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's probably depends on the specifics of the installation. What it would need to withstand in terms of weather, in addition to anything else. I think that's something that Nate, I know you're in Colorado, so we can talk about that individually. But if you have those sorts of questions, that's hopefully something that your state level coordinator can help you sort of think through, or the folks in your network. There's lots of good ways to answer that question. It just depends on the specifics.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, Joseph says he's asking for draft content. They do want to do a local history component to complement and don't want to overlap. Great question, our Washington rep here. So in the user guide, we did include all of the moments that we're planning to highlight, and then a short paragraph about each one, and then which artifact from the Colorado exhibition will be featured on the panel. So it's not all the details, but I think it gives you enough information to not repeat. If there's something specific, like there's a specific local story you want to tell and you're wondering if our panels are going to tell it, please reach out to your state rep. And I'm happy to kind of give you the details. Colorado has done so much work. They sent us a very long document with lots of information, and I didn't want to put it all in that user guide. But we can, if you have specific questions and it's not clear from what's in the user guide, we're happy to have a one-on-one and help you with that. Mariah asks, what kind of design software? So as I mentioned, we're going to be pushing hard on Canva. If folks use Adobe, I think we'll probably have some AI files because that will be the sort of native format from the designers. If we need to adapt something like Word, we could try that. But really, I really want to encourage folks to use Canva. It's very user-friendly, very graphics-friendly, and then the core kit will all just be PDFs. Those won't be editable. Those will just be ready to print. Use them or not. They're not designed for you to go in and change them. If you want to customize, you need to do it in the templates that are provided for the information that you want to add. All right. If my county, Liz asks, if my county historical studies has used this and customized some of it to our local history, is it okay to also include our organization's logo in the printed panels? Yeah, I think on the custom ones for sure. As I mentioned, the core kit will have all of our logos on it. And I didn't mention this in the presentation, but it is in the user's guide that we will be requiring everyone to sort of sign a very simple use agreement that you won't be modifying the core panel kit, because all of our institutional logos will be on there, and we've vetted that information, and so kind of a lot of us are state agencies, and so we need that content to remain consistent to what has been vetted and reviewed by us. But those custom panels, 100%. Please throw your logo on there. If you've got other partners you want to work with, throw all your logos on there. We'd love to see you take ownership and add your own stuff. James asks us to talk about their story. Hannah Lori, I didn't put a slide in and I should have, and I will turn that over to you.
Yeah, happy to. So for those of you who've not yet seen our user guide and don't know what the question is referring to, their story is one of the integrations that we are planning to include in the core exhibition. And their story is an all-encompassed virtual platform to manage oral history projects. And their story has very graciously decided to sponsor access to their platform for this exhibition, specifically for organizations to capture testimonials. So the idea currently stands that on one of those reflection panels, there will be a QR code to access a virtual recording booth. So folks can go through your exhibition, see the content, and then it's kind of like, we've told you the moments that made us, but what are the moments that made you? And what has been your experience with this content? And really, what does it mean for you to be an American? So the content that's captured through that virtual recording booth will be made available to the state distribution partners, who will then distribute those testimonials to the local users and organizations. And those clips can be used for, materials that you house as part of your archival collections for how you celebrated America 250. You can use this content to help further promote visitation to your exhibition and to your site, and really for marketing across the board. So that's what their story is offering. Again, they have a website. You can look them up. It's theirstory.oi, I believe. And we're really excited about this partnership. So we will be putting those QR codes into the core exhibition files for each state and U.S. territory. So even if, again, like Jay said at the beginning, we don't have a state distribution partner for you yet, every state will have access to utilizing their story for this exhibition.
And we'll have more details about that. Like Hannah-Lori said, specific links for every state once the files are ready. Christy is asking Hannah-Lori when the Idaho content will be available. It's all January. Because we're crossing our fingers for everything to kind of come together. We'll be working hard over the next few months to get this pulled together.
But
Erica,
Jay, I think just, I know we're going to be short on time for all the questions, but I will reiterate that, again, collaboration has been such an important aspect of this project. And so the quote unquote Idaho content that we're developing in partnership with the Washington State Historical Society and the Oregon Historical Society is building on this idea of perspectives. So the Pacific Northwest files is really what we should be referring to them as, is going to tell 1 to 2 additional moments from the perspective of each of our states. So again, trying to bring that more regional, localized perspective, but in putting that information up, you might hear a little bit about Washington's history and a little bit about Oregon's alongside.
Which is our sneaky way for us all to learn more about our neighboring states in the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, we're working with a consultant helping us put some of that content together in a little Northwest group we've got going. James asked about associated audio files for the blind and visually impaired. And unfortunately, that is not something we are planning to offer at this moment. If that is something that is really essential to your audience, we could maybe suggest some tools for people to do that. That kind of gets into a realm of a pretty a larger sort of tech needs as far as speakers or additional sort of QR codes or something like that. So unfortunately, we don't have that, James. But thank you for asking. That is a really important thing to consider. Nate, we will share these slides out, but I would refer you more urgently to the user's guide. I think there's going to be a lot more specific information for folks there, which I'm happy to send out again. Joshua asks, what if locations want to have some physical panels on display and share others digitally through social media platforms? Would that be discouraged, regardless of if proper credit was given? Absolutely not. Please share out. Even Nicole actually had suggested maybe people just want to display them on screens in their lobbies or something like that. We would any sort of format and version, as long as that original kit of panels is kept in their original form with their original text.
And Jay,
sure.
I want to follow up on that answer too, because again, we're all having these kind of individual conversations at the local level with folks, and I'm sure if you all are doing A250 work, you have already been plugged in with your DAR chapters or state leadership. And I know here in Idaho, a lot of our DAR chapters are thinking of utilizing these panels as part of their in-classroom presentations. And the DAR is on the ground pushing education. So that's another, again, potential idea. You don't have to mount them. Maybe you bring them with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Dania, apologies, asks if the custom panels will have the America 250 logo on them or the Moments Made Us logo. Those probably won't have any logos per se. They will have Moments That Made Us graphics, so they look sort of similarly branded to the main exhibition, but they won't have our logos on them because that will be up to the local users to add content. So as the earlier person mentioned, putting your own logo on it would be great. to let folks know that that was something that you produced, that you worked on. And so, no, we don't really plan for those to have logos on them, but they will have the sort of look and feel and branding of the other panels, so that it looks cohesive. And then if people are looking closely, they can see like, oh, this panel was produced by the planning team. This panel was produced by hopefully, you know, the local folks. So, all right. There are a lot of questions that got answered via text. So I hope folks have been able to kind of browse those if you had similar questions. But that is all of the open questions for now. I'm just sort of scanning. Britt mentions Walgreens has great discounts on poster printer, usually 50 to 70% off. Great tip. Thank you, Britt. There was one about audience. Oh yeah, Sophia asked about who are you imagining as the main audience for these panels, family friendly or geared toward adults? We're going to try to make the language as accessible as possible, but it's, I would say, not totally aimed at youth. It's probably more about more aimed at kind of high school and above, but we want to try to make the reading level as accessible as possible. So that's something we're gonna still be working through. I don't know if Gwen and Jason have any comments on kind of process for that with the base exhibit or not.
Sure. I guess I can give you some framework to say that the source exhibit labels came out at about a 9th or 10th grade level. And there's some room for our group to try to bring that closer to maybe 8th grade, but that any expectation that we would bring this quite down to elementary school is probably beyond what this group can do by January and what we have time and capacity for. I will say though that with the package we're providing and with the blank templates, if you have the capacity with an education team, or if your mission is primarily to work with kids that or younger learners, I should say, readers who are at a different level than the files we provide, you are more than welcome to go ahead and distill that information into something that does work better for your audiences. It's more of a legwork for you, but it is certainly an opportunity that you can take advantage of.
Okay, another question, well, probably this will be our last one. What will happen if a local institution creates controversial content on their customized panels? I've spoken to one small museum director who is hesitant to use it, because other institutions may create content using the system that they would find objectionable. You know, that's kind of a risk we take as far as making this open and usable for all. We're trying to mitigate that by what I mentioned before about having the core panels have all the logos and the custom panels not. But we can't control every user that decides to use this product. So if that's too high of a risk for any particular potential user, we understand. But we're trying to moderate that as best we can by making it clear what content is produced by the design team and what content is being produced locally. Gwen, Jason, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I would just add to that. You know, this is a new format that I think we haven't quite seen exactly before. If it works, I think it's got great potential. But it's only going to work because we are approaching this in a really collaborative way. We're all taking part in this and shaping what the outcome will be. So there's a lot of trust placed in the venues that are going to be displaying it. You know, we hope that everyone is operating in good faith, and we also hope that everybody can distinguish, you know, what is created locally that may or may not be aligned with what you would create locally, and that there's room for all of us. It's a big national anniversary, and we want to make this something that all of us can feel like we can participate in the way that makes sense in our communities.
I think that is the perfect note to end on. We're at 11. Thank you, Jason, Gwen, Nicole, and Hannah Laurie for being with us, and for all our friends in the chat who helped answer the questions. Thank you everyone for attending. We're so excited about this project. We hope you are too. A couple folks had questions about the user guide. I'll email that out again when I follow up with the link to this webinar, so you have it. And then we also are planning for each state partner to have a link to the user guide on their website. So if all is lost, contact the person from your state, and maybe I'll paste all that contact information in the follow-up email too, so you can see every state contact who's signed up to kind of help us with this. So thank you, everyone. We'll be in touch. Be sure to check your junk email because I'm sending out large groups of email if you haven't seen anything yet. Jay Barston from the Washington State Historical Society. Look for my email. I'll be following up with lots more. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.